is 6 o'clock.
That's a good.
We are 6 o'clock.
Differentiation.
Yeah.
We have a quorum, so I'm going to call gavel in whatever in the committee for the Economic Development Commission for August 20th at 6 o'clock. Okay, all right. Roll call. We're only missing Melissa. We may end up getting her. We're not sure yet. And we're missing Bob, who is, I think, taking some leave or in a meeting. I can't remember which one it is. All right, take a look at the agenda. Does anyone have any adjustments they would like to make to the agenda or suggestions for changes to tonight's agenda? All right, so I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, excellent, done. The meeting notes for July were sent out. Does anyone have any adjustments or edits that are needed for the notes for July?
No.
I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as are.
So moved.
Yeah, proper grammar. Lynn, move second, please.
Second.
Dan, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that brings us lickety-split to Commissioner's Corner. Maurice, we'll start down at your end.
Nothing great to report this week.
Okay,
That's 2 months in a row.
it's all right. Some things happen slowly sometimes. Dan,
Hi. I had a really neat opportunity. I was going to share this at the last meeting, but due to my absence, I couldn't. I had a really neat opportunity. I dropped by the carry-on trailer manufacturing facility there on Harry Hogan Road in Callio. And I spent about 2 hours there, got a tour of the facility. The manager was fantastic guy. I mean, really ex-military, very organized. But I kind of got a better feel for, that location, because that's kind of like a satellite location to the one that they have in Montrose. They employ 20 people. The average prices there for wages is about $28 an hour, which, is pretty good, I thought. They don't have a lot of turnover. They don't seem to have any problem attracting employees because it's a skilled labor. It's mainly welders and, painters and stuff like that that work for them. I asked them, what they thought, just trying to glean some input for our group here. If they thought that there was, anything that, that the county, through the Economic Development Commission could do to, enhance them or get them to expand their business or anything. And they said that, not really, because their business was more so it's spaced out through the United States as far as how they get the trailers to everywhere. And that, that employees have not been an issue for them. They find the county is very fair with their, with the taxes for their situation. So, not a lot of information gleaned, but it's, just to share with you guys, it is amazingly clean place where that place is. It really is done well. I was really impressed.
that's cool. They're actually listed as the second largest employer in the county.
Are they really? Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
the school is the first, which
I think he said 28 people at that
they must
facility.
count their other, they must combine the both locations.
Oh, maybe
Because
so.
otherwise they couldn't beat Omega.
No.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's great. Excellent, nice. Let's see, for me, I don't have anything new from any of the businesses or locales in my area. I have a ton of new stuff for when we get down to, let's see. I got a lot of stuff to report on a lot of other fronts, but with respect to my commissioner hat, there's not a whole lot new, so I'll save the rest of my stuff until I think probably new business.
The only thing I had was talking with a young woman who was in the career center in the cosmetology program. She spent her summer working in a hair salon, which is how I came to chat with her. And she told me something very interesting. We had heard at one point that one of the barriers to the kids that go to that school, specifically the cosmetology students, was that they couldn't afford the cost of the testing once they finished their courses. Well, this young lady told me that the initial test is actually paid for by the school.
Hmm.
The only thing they have to pay for is when they retest, when they fail the first test. And that's the barrier, subsequent to their initial testing, is that they can't afford to pay for the retest. So we started chatting. I said, how many girls from Northumberland are in that program? And she said 3. And I said, how many of you are likely to work in the industry once you graduate? And she said, 1. And I said, I'm assuming that's you, because you've made a promise to yourself that you're not going to fail the first time. She said, exactly. But she was talking about the slots there. One girl apparently doesn't even try, isn't really interested. And I said, then why did she sign up? She said, lots of kids sign up just because it's different than going to regular school.
Hmm.
They really don't have an interest. And I said, well, you guys have to test in. No. Is there a waiting list if somebody drops out? No.
Hmm.
Now, this was a student, so this all needs to be drilled down on and confirmed. But she was really very interesting to talk to from the student standpoint.
Sure.
She felt that she was getting a terrific education. As a matter of fact, when I walked in, she was working on a mannequin head.
Hmm.
She was cutting and styling this mannequin's hair. So she really is a interested and driven kind of student. She's spending her summer working in the field that she wants to go into. But some of the information that she shared was a little different from what we've heard in the past. And I just thought I'd share that with you guys. But it does, I think, some of the things that we've been told, we sort of, I think, maybe need to drill down on a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if that test is paid for by the school, the initial testing is paid for by the school, then why aren't these kids succeeding with their first test?
'Cause they don't want to.
What's the problem?
They don't give a shit. Sorry.
It is.
But then that gets back to, okay, well, is there a way that we can help vet the students that are going to succeed? So that the $52,000 a month we, as a county, send to the boat tech school actually does some good. So that's mine.
No, that's something, thank you. Okay. All right. There's gonna be some more, I think, on that in a minute. We'll go over to, let's see, for executive director items, I know I'm gonna talk about business listing, I'm gonna talk about bus tour, strategic actions. Was there anything that Bob gave you that he needed?
I just was gonna say, he provided a copy of the, building
Perfect.
reports, the
Okay.
same thing that, Mr. Tadlock covered in the board meeting, so
Okay.
that everybody has a copy of it available to them.
Yeah, I noticed we're up on some of those this year over last year.
Okay. All right, Drew.
And just a reminder, and I sent an email reminder to everybody today of the upcoming tour at Omega next week. The press has been notified that everybody from the board and the EDC will be there, just so they're aware, and that there's no official business to be transacted, but it's just so they're aware that everybody will be.
And we're all supposed to meet in the church parking lot, and then they're
And it didn't, well, I'm not sure how they're gonna do the carpool from there, if Omega's gonna provide like bus or something, depends on, or if we're gonna,
Yeah.
or if we're gonna just follow as we can.
But we all there's plenty of parking at the church parking lot, so we can all get over there and then we can figure it out. Okay.
Park in the back part of the, behind
Okay.
the church and that part of
Can I join you all on that? I've been trying to get over there for that, and they don't do individual tours.
We've already sent in how many we had coming, but I can reach out to Monty and see if they have anything else coming up.
What is it?
It's,
27th,
it's next
next
Tuesday,
Tuesday from 10 to, no,
10 to 1,
Something
1:30,
like
something like that.
in the morning.
Do you want to take my spot?
Is it not if it's on the trawler?
We're not gonna go out.
Yes.
All right, we'll figure it out. So we
That
can,
was
okay,
everything I had.
that's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
All right, so into new business, which is kind of new, combination of new and old, I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Business listing. Oh, wait, so first, the EDC is in receipt of a letter from the sheriff about donations to child safety programs. This would be an individual donation from each commissioner because we as a commission don't have money, tax money that we can donate to another tax organization. But if you want to, please take a look at this letter, and then if you want to, Yeah. there's a couple things that go with it, since I keep dropping them. So take a look at that, okay? We just talked about the Omega tour. I know we're gonna follow up on, all right, let's see, so that takes care of that, that takes care of that. The bus tour, I know we had a gentleman here last time that was talking about maybe doing like something like historic tour, get more people to the guild, et cetera. He was connected with Lisa Hull, and I believe there was a meeting today. Tomorrow, okay, there's a meeting tomorrow. I have a conference call tomorrow with the county's point of contact at Mary Washington University. Antoinette Jenkins, she's the lady who helps with, like, I wouldn't say business development, but her region is us. Because he wanted to talk to see if we had a connection with history, right? They wanted to see if he could get some students involved. So I'm gonna explain to her what it is he's looking for and see if there's a connection there that can be made, so we can give him that information. So we will have that, I guess, underway. So that's an exciting event. I know Melissa had chatted with the Habitat for Humanity folks. She's not here to give us an update on that, so we'll get one from her on that next time. Business listing. The Planning Commission, last month, if y'all remember the Planning Commission, we had a document to look at that was the justification, if you will, but I would call it the business case for why we needed a business license. And I know we've talked about this in this group before. And in general, the thought was that first we have to see what information we have before we start charging businesses in the county to come get a license. Turns out there's not one, but two listings in the county for businesses. There is a listing that the Bay Workforce Development Consortium provides that is employers in the county. So that list includes like the churches and a lot of other organizations.
Who's that, Karen?
The Bay Workforce Development Consortium. This stuff is on the shared drive. I posted these things on the shared drive.
Oh, okay.
So the Bay Workforce list is on the shared drive. The Commissioner of the Revenue provided me with a listing that can be shared with the EDC, which is business personal property tax or business property taxes. So there are some organizations that are on that listing that are not, that own property in the county, but may not be based in the county.
Yes.
So
I saw that earlier.
I pulled the two lists together. So we've created kind of a third listing, if you will, which is, I compared the lists, and if there was one on one that wasn't on the other, I added it. So we have a list now that is merged. I removed the duplicates, of which it was abundantly clear it was a duplicate. There were some that probably are duplicates, but because they were slightly different incorporated names, I left them because it's possible that they're incorporated under different organizations. And so the list is well over, I think it's almost close to 800. Again, that doesn't mean those are all businesses that are employing people in the county.
Mhm.
It could mean it's somebody who owns property in the county. So we don't, in my opinion, unless I've missed something, I know Stuart McKenzie had looked at the Bay Consortium list and made a couple edits, which were based on his personal knowledge, not based on knowledge from his position. And I believe he also looked at the Commissioner of the Revenue listing and removed some duplicates, which is kind of what we had done. So I'm not aware that Stuart has compared the two lists and come up with the list that we have. So that's why I think there's a difference between, the 618 that he has and the 800 summits on that list. So the listing that is on our shared drive is not yet a public document because it's not.
It's not authoritative.
It can't be authoritative. The Bay Consortium listing, you can get online, right? Anybody can go to their website and they can pull down that listing. The one that I put for you guys on the shared drive is what I think we're gonna need to start working with for our purposes, which is, look, who are the employers in the county? What type of organizations do they represent? So I talked with Mr. Cost the other night and expressed in general I guess I'll say our position, which is, look, as long as we have this information, there's no reason to charge businesses.
Yeah.
Because the stated purpose in that document we reviewed last time was to generate a listing so that we would know what businesses were in the county and the EDC could do some work on attracting other businesses. Well, we hadn't seen that document before it went to the Board of Supervisors, with all due respect to your group. And so kind of putting in some information about, so the EDC could do their work caught me by surprise. I'm really glad that we connected on it because now we have not one, but two listings that we can start to use to analyze, do some analysis and reach out. I don't know if, John, if it scratches the itch for the planning commission, but it seems to me that
The application has been completed, so there's
Okay.
no more itching.
there's no more itching, excellent.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
So the good news is we do have some information, on businesses in the county. So that's really, that's actually really some good news in terms of where we want to reach out, because it's going to be important for us when we get to the job or career fair. So again, those documents are posted up on our shared space. The Bay Consortium is already public, so anyone in the public that wants to, they can go to the Bay Workforce Development Consortium site and they can pull that list down. I'm having some trouble getting it to download, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means I'm having trouble. And then the Commissioner of the Revenue one, that is not our list to hand out. And when I asked if the information was public, I was given the answer that it can be shared with the other commissioners. So I'm not sure if there's information in there that is considered personal or identifiable. But for our purposes, we do have information that was provided by the Commission of Revenue. So I'm going to stop there for a second and see if there's any questions about that body of work. We're already, the Planning Commission is done now. You're not pursuing
Well,
board.
would you like more color on all this?
Yes, and what happens next? Is it,
Nothing. Well,
Okay.
so I missed a meeting in May and I found it at the June Board of Supervisors meeting that the Planning Commission come up with this idea. So they asked the board to have them be authorized to determine the pros and cons for a business registration system. When I found out about it, I sort of leaked on it. I volunteered to help create the pro and con document and proceeded to con the hell out of it. I had a long talk with the Commissioner of Revenue, who shared the document with me that Stewart didn't know existed. So I shared it with you. He also said he would be happy to meet with your group or the Planning Commission to go over what's in it and what's not. Yeah, so feel free to reach out to him. He's very helpful. So at the Planning Commission last week, Maurice was there. We had a brief discussion about it, went through the final pro and con document. I think I sent you that. And basically the cons overwhelm the pros. And so the pro and con document that you have will be sent to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation that we do not pursue a business registration system, that there is an insufficient business benefit for doing so.
Good.
Actually, a lot more cons than pros.
Good.
especially if we have the data.
Yeah, that was the original gist of it. Somebody on the commission thought it'd be helpful, just as with you all having that conversation. And when we came to find out that you had the one source, but Todd had so much more data. Now the data is not clean; it's a mess. I mean, there's Abbott Labs is on there. They're based in Illinois, but for some reason they have a PO box. Who knows why? There's a number of companies on there that are very big companies who have nothing to do with this county in any way we can tell. So it's a dirty list, but that's all irrelevant to your purposes. So for purposes of the Planning Commission, our final, what was requested by the Board of Supervisors has been completed and been submitted to them, and there'll be nothing further from the Planning Commission.
John, can I ask a question? This is really interesting. You probably don't have this number. What percentage would you all estimate are businesses that are not geographically operating in Northumberland County?
The list is so long, you'd have to stare at it for hours to sort of see a trend.
Well,
There were bizarre things on there that made no sense at all.
Like Yamaha Financial?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, here's my question for the group, and look, I don't want any business, I don't want to see any business ready. It's got to be as friendly as it can be. The only thing for consideration of discussion only, if this data is really looked at and it appears that we have businesses that, kind of like the same reason why people incorporate in Delaware, because there's no tax there. But if we have a significant number of businesses that are operating outside of Northumberland County,
No, wait, time out. This isn't an incorporation listing.
I understand.
This is businesses who have property in the county.
I understand.
Okay,
I understand. So you're saying that everyone on that list owns some form of real estate in Northumberland County. Is that what you're saying?
From the commission, we can ask Todd to confirm, but from commissioner, the title of the list is business property, right, in Northumberland County.
So it could be a situation in where these are businesses or LLCs or whatever that have bought real estate under that entity.
That's correct.
It might not be a functioning business.
In this county, it could be a functioning business in another county.
Correct.
Yamaha Financial may be registered to do business like in Virginia, and
Sure.
they may have a PO box here, and maybe that counts. For our purposes, the work that we're gonna be doing, I think the Bay Workforce Consortium list is better, because that's employers.
Right.
And that's separate from the tax.
And that all makes perfect sense to me, but where I'm going with this, guys, just for something to think about. If we saw a pattern that there were businesses that are identifying or holding real estate here because they're averting taxes somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? That
How
might,
would they be averting taxes? And you'd still, I mean,
well, I can.
we're not an offshore corporation here.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, like, okay, so Fairfax County or Loudoun County, when you have a business license there, the associated taxes with running that business in those two counties is going to be much higher than it is here because we essentially don't have any taxes for the businesses.
So I would leave that to Todd.
Yeah, I would too. The thing I
Yeah,
would
but
guess-
that's my point. I just
The thing I
think
would
that's
guess
just data that you need to look at.
if,
Yeah,
if we've got
I
these
can
weird.
tell you that there are instances where a corporation from outside the county does in fact own and have an address here in this county solely for the purposes of providing pleasant utilities for the couple that owns the original business.
Sure.
There's a vacation rental that's exclusive to a particular company that I'm aware of. It doesn't really rent to anybody but clients for anything.
Yeah.
And that company does not live here in this county.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop this conversation because it's not an EDC thing. For the EDC purposes, right? Our purposes, we now are aware that there, and for the same thing, Planning Commission, there are at least 2 listings. The listing which appears to be the most useful for us is gonna be the Bay Consortium Workforce Development list, because it's employers. Now, there are a lot, when you combine the 2 listings, you get a lot. I think there's probably maybe 10 to 15% in the space you're talking about.
Mhm.
But as an EDC commissioner, I'm not worried about that. That is in the commission of the revenue bucket. We're killing the idea that we need a business license registry because we have 2 listings.
Mm.
Yes, there are differences between the 2. For the purposes of us to make sure we're increasing employment or getting employment, the Bay workforce listing appears to be the most useful for us.
Okay.
I think there are actually some businesses that should be in that listing that aren't. And I think the question is, on what is the Bay listing built? If it's built on employer taxes paid, then it could be that some of the businesses that are in the county listing are like own account worker employees. They don't hire anybody else. It's simply a mom and pop running it. That is germane because that then gets to when that mom and pop decides to retire, what happens? So one of the things that I want to do is follow up with Jacob at his office and find out what are the parameters for those data. Because if we do run into mom and pop shops, that is something we need to think about, because if you think back to the meeting we had in January, some of the planning commission members and the board members were wondering when the mom and pop decides to retire, if it's a restaurant and the kids don't want to be in it anymore, what happens? And then you've got the
Right.
gap.
Right.
Right? So that is one of the things I'd like to figure out about the data, is to understand that a little bit better.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing, if we want, I mean, we can certainly ask Todd to come talk to the group, and then you can ask him any questions you want about that information. So maybe a discovery session with the commissioner. of the-
I for one think that would be really good.
Okay, but they have to be, I'm gonna stop you and make sure, Dan, it has to be a question that's germane to EDC.
Okay.
Please, because I wanna make sure that we're using the data in a manner consistent with our mission. And then there might be questions that he has to look at for other things.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about these lists? How did these 2 lists bump up against the Chamber of Commerce list?
I don't know the Chamber of Commerce has a list.
Yeah, it's in their magazine. It's in their magazine.
They
It's
put one out for this
extensive.
year? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did. It's
Oh,
in
I
there,
missed
it's in
it.
their magazine. It's extensive.
Oh.
But admittedly, reading through it, there are businesses listed on there that haven't been in business for many years.
Maybe like 360?
Yeah.
So I don't know, I haven't done that analysis. If somebody wants to do it, they can. I don't have to do another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really don't. I know the chamber has a website that supposedly you'll be able to dump a listing. When I did the comparison, I couldn't merge the two documents. I did a line by line. I split my screen and did a line by line and physically added the name and the address for all the listings. So maybe this winter I'll get bored and do the chamber list, but for right
So
now,
if I take a look at and put it in a format that is consistent with what's on,
do a CSV file.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
And yeah, if the chamber data can be dumped from their website into a CSV, then we could do the comparison.
Okay.
And to your point, there are things, like the dairy freeze is still listed in the list from the Bay Group, I think, and I think even, and we all know it's out of business, but I don't know how often those data are refreshed. So I got a couple of questions that I wanna ask, and I think that's gonna become I think we're gonna end up creating our own list, is really what I think is gonna happen. And I don't wanna do that, because then we've got a different list than everybody else does, which is kind of antithetical to having a government source of data. Now, the Bay Group is not government, but those data are derived from, I think he said payroll taxes, didn't he?
I think that's what.
Yeah, he said it was, taxes, and the only one that can be is payroll. So then, my assumption again, if you're not on that list, then you don't have any people that you're paying as employees. You could be paying yourself, but that's a different kind of payment.
Mhm.
So there we are. At least we know that we know there are sources of data, and okay. All right, so then we need to invite Todd for discovery. And if he won't, if he can't meet in the evening, then a couple of us can get over there and meet with him. Okay. The Career Expo. So this information is not out public yet because it's not final. So what I'm sharing right now is pre-deliverable, pre-decisional, et cetera. I know we've got people listening in. It's going to be in the minutes, but this is not something that we can post yet because it's not final. So right now, it looks like we're going to have the Career Expo, the Career and Job Expo on November 2nd. Yes, that is the same day as Urbana Oyster Festival, but I'm not at this point overly concerned that we're going to lose a lot of participants, local participants. It's going to be from, the employers will be there. They start at 8. Right now, the plan is to have the expo from 9 to 12. The school, Dr. Travis Burns at the school is checking with the school board to put in all the paperwork that's needed. At last week's school board meeting, I made the announcement to the school board that I made the announcement at the Board of Supervisors meeting, 2 weeks ago, at the school board last week. We hadn't yet set a date. The weekend before that is homecoming, and I do not want to run into any homecoming activities at the school for a Saturday morning. I don't think that would work. Plus, we want to get people in there Friday to be able to set up. So right now, what I'm working with Dr. Burns on, I'm putting together a very small flyer for the event. It's not professional. It's on the shared drive. I put everything on the shared drive. I'm not trying to be a graphic artist, guys. I'm just trying to put something together. I put working, and Lynn's going to give me some advice too, because she has run these kinds of things before, putting together an information sheet for employers. So any employer that wants to come in, as we're out and about in the county. My email's on it right now, but I'm going to take that off and put Bob's email. I don't think we have a generic email box yet.
No.
Okay, then Bob's going to have to take all the emails and the phone calls, and then I'm going to give my business card out if people need a secondary. So Dr. Burns is going to work with the public service side of the county, emergency services, sheriff, county government. He's going to reach out to them to get them there. And then we as a commission are going to work the businesses in our different districts. And I think the plan is, and give me some feedback on this, guys. I think what we want is at least a couple businesses from each village represented, right? I don't think we want all Callio, all Burgess, all Reedville, right?
Right.
Is that a good thought, to have at least a couple?
That's the goal.
Okay, so again, and we have enough space for above 30, but a little bit above 30. I'm not sure how much interest we're gonna have, and so we're gonna cap the registration 2 weeks prior, so we have enough tables and space. The school's gonna provide the tables. They're gonna provide electricity if people need it. I don't know if there's gonna be Wi-Fi if people have to provide that. So they'll provide all the logistics. They will even provide, if people want to do interviews, they can do it in classrooms that are there, so there can be on-site interviews. I'm still working, Melissa, one of the things I want to do is try to figure out if we can like the work that you've been doing with mentoring people and giving them, you know, resume advice and things. If there's anybody you can think of that could have a table there that could help. I'd like to get some people who need that advice. I'd also like to see if there's any community residents that attend that would like to volunteer in that capacity. So I think that's a table we want to make sure that we have. Get the employers, make sure that, I'm looking right now, I'm gonna find somebody that's gonna bring in maybe coffee. I might get like a fruit plate or something from Food Line, I'm not sure. I'm not like interested in providing a whole bunch of breakfast, but I think we need some refreshments. So when people get there, we'll get some refreshments. I'm gonna start going around the county and I'm gonna buy a couple gift certificates, because I'd like to have a drawing every hour. So I wanna try to get more people there that are gonna be looking for jobs. So if we have like a, you know, a raffle drawing every hour for, you know, different little prizes, it showcases some of the businesses in the county, plus hopefully we'll draw some more people. Bob is gonna reach out, or I will, to the Department of Social Services, because we would like to see if people who are receiving unemployment benefits and they have to check the box about making sure that they've gone out to visit, we'd like to see if attending the job fair might help them meet that requirement for seeking employment. And not everyone who attends the career fair needs to necessarily be seeking employees. They could also be trying to highlight different jobs or careers that they have in the county for which there might be future openings. So for example, the carry-on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, even if they don't have currently any job openings, they might be able to come, you know, they could come and talk about the different careers they
I
have.
was thinking Dollar Tree would probably welcome going there. And I've got I've got the big honcho.
Right, so you guys get to pick in your areas, right, who you want to approach. And what we'll do is, I was gonna use the Bay Consortium listing, because that's a listing of employers, and reach out to some people in my, you know, my district and do that. And I also, if I'm out getting gift certificates, then I'll let you guys know if I'm in your district, if you've already approached that business. So the objective is, right now, the plan, I put together a little action plan that, again, if it needs edits, please, you know, let me know. It's on the shared drive. So the goal is to confirm the date for the event within the next week or two, so we can get that confirmed. And then starting after Labor Day, we would start reaching out to different businesses, just putting some feelers out. And then we would make a full court press probably the middle of September. And we would close off registrations 2 weeks prior to the event, so we could know how many people we have. And then we're gonna make sure it's available to, you know, kids in high school can come, but anybody in the county that's seeking a job can come. So that's where we're at right now with the Career Fair and Expo. So still very much in the planning stages.
You thought about inviting the RCC to participate as well?
I haven't. We could. I mean, there's no prohibition against it, yeah. Because then that would be like for the welders, right, the welding program. So we can get them, and then, I mean, if anyone has idea, like I said, the documents are on our shared drive. Go in and toss in your thoughts, or pop me an email. Don't pop it to the whole group, please, because that becomes a meeting. Pop me an email to say, hey, like, do you think about this? Do you think about this? What about this? So take a look at the documents, please, and see where you can see some gaps or some things that might be missing. And then before our next meeting is September something.
It's early.
So I'm not sure. It's the second Tuesday, so it should be,
Thought I saw the
Thursday.
17th.
third Tuesday. Okay. I likely will be reaching out to you guys before our next meeting then, because if we're gonna wanna start the outreach by the middle. So as we continue.
And are we looking at, you know, when we're getting this list together for the employees, like you said, RCC, however, are we talking about, does it have to have a certain amount of employees right now? Because, you know, let's say if it was the handy store, do we look at, you know, businesses that, you know, that have more than, you know, 5 employees?
I hadn't thought about that right now. I was just
Okay.
thinking anybody who has, you know, a need. The way I was gonna approach like my district, I was gonna look at, bless you, there's the Bay Consortium put out a listing of the largest employers in the county. So I was gonna start with that first, to make sure that at least the largest employers in the county were
The mega
touched by
protein
us,
is-
right?
Mhm.
So let's make sure that all the businesses, like the top 20 businesses that are largest employers, let's make sure they're at least touched and invited. And then let's make sure we're not neglecting some of the restaurants and others around the county that need help. We're always talking about it. So it was gonna be like a two-phased approach. Top employers first, and then everybody gets to pick businesses within their local area.
Okay.
And I'd like us to kind of coordinate a little bit on it so that, like, if you're gonna reach out to Dollar General, we don't all need to talk to General. And we don't necessarily, need $14 Generals there. At the same time, I'm not exactly sure how much uptick there's gonna be. I don't know if this is something that's gonna be, the employers are gonna be like, great, or they're gonna be like, oh, great, another one of those things, and, we get there and then there's nobody here. I don't know that there has been a career expo in a long time, and so I think it's.
Usually it's around school when, they're having the school session and they have like those career days.
Yeah, and that's usually for the students.
Right.
So this time I wanna make sure, and I think that's gonna be a bigger thing, is to make sure that there's a lot of people that come on that Saturday, which is why I'm thinking the raffle tickets and the coffee might be, maybe people might come for coffee and a piece of fruit. No, I'm not serving like bagels. But who knows, we might be able to. So that's kind of where we're at with the Career Expo.
Okay. And then we have to look at it seasonal as well, because a lot of times during the winter months, the restaurants are not hiring.
Right.
So.
And if this is, my goal I've set for this is 20 businesses participating and like 100 people, like maybe 100 people. I don't know if that's a realistic goal or not for a Saturday morning. Now, if we exceed that goal in one and not the other, anything we do is going to be lessons learned because we haven't done this before.
Right.
So, and it's at no charge. The school's going to hopefully provide the space. The employers don't have to pay to go.
Right.
Right? No, it's not going to cost anybody anything to go there. There's plenty of parking. And if they get, a free gift certificate to someplace and free cup of coffee, who knows?
Karen, just for your purposes, if there's something that happens with the school system and you think the event center is suitable, you guys are welcome to roll it there.
Okay,
Free.
thank you.
I don't know if it's enough real estate, it should be, but if you feel like if there's a conflict or if you guys have to talk about it, want to hold it there, we can take care of it.
Thank you. Thank you. We already have 2 people signed up. So, and they're in the public service realm. Okay, so that's the Career Expo. And again, I truly welcome any thoughts, edits on the documents. I'm not gonna get out of shape. You guys are like, this sucks and it needs an overhaul. These are thoughts put on there because I don't know how much information the employers want. So Lynn's gonna take a look at it from that perspective. And I'm gonna try to see if I can talk to Dr. Burns, if there's somebody that works like in the graphic arts department at the school that maybe can make it prettier.
Okay, I had one guy that's at Norfolk State, he did an amazing job for me, and all I do is send it to him and
Okay,
I have the flyer, so I can actually have him.
well then I will, after I get Dr. Trev's input on what needs to be on there, because I'm struggling with the real estate, and it looks like I put it together on a computer, which I did.
Oh.
So once we get
Okay.
it in good shape about what needs to be on there,
Yes, send it to me.
he can make it nice for us, thank
Yes,
you.
he will.
And again, places where to post it, like, I'm not sure, I'm gonna check our budget, I don't know if we have enough money to do an ad in the newspaper, we could, I'm gonna check.
Well, but we have enough local influence that we could get an article about it.
We could, right, so
Versus buying an ad.
this is all part of the stuff, like, there needs to be a communication, make sure we get information out there, so all that is open, there's a piece in the plan that talks about it, but not very much. So please add stuff into that plan that
We should
needs.
be able to do an ad under the 501c3 in somewhat way, don't you think? I mean, because we have the Calio and we have the Northern Neck Planning District Commission. We should be able to get ads under that for this, shouldn't we?
I don't know.
Not
Yeah.
sure.
Because I did one for a yard sale a few weeks ago, and
Because we're not 501c3.
but we assisted with the one with Calio.
So, can I ask, please, if you or Bob could check into what the rules are around buying an ad?
Yeah.
And, because I know we have to advertise events, right, but we do that through the website. I'm gonna ask Bob to put a section on the website that talks about this, because I want people to be driven to the EDC site, and then I don't know what we're gonna do at the school. but I'd like to see what we can do,
Because if it came up under the county, you know, it's discounted, but I will send it with the record, and the record, I'll send her an email.
yeah, because if it does come up under the county, and it is discounted, then, again, if it's a
Yes,
certain amount of
big
money,
time.
then I'm happy to, add it to my list of things I'm doing for the,
Okay.
I'll-
gift certificates.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the other thing that might be important is since the school is co-hosting, let the school do a couple of announcements that the parents would get.
so again, add it to the list, so these are all things that, it's literally a TikTok list of things that,
And we're gonna come together before, you know, hand anyway, and just, go through everything that we covered.
well, yeah, so we'll have a meeting beforehand, but I also wanna make sure you guys see all this.
Yeah.
So as you give me all the input, I'm gonna add it to that plan, and then I'm gonna send it back out, make comments directly into the document, or send them to me personally.
Okay.
And I will adjust it, because
Okay.
again, I want this to be a big success, and big means we get at least people to show up and at least businesses to show up.
Mhm.
And again, whatever we miss on this one, we'll pick up on, if it's successful, I'd like to do another one maybe in the spring. It's a
Well,
different
that was
group,
my thought, yes.
right? It's a different group of people.
Exactly, yeah, now, you know, we can even do a whole restaurant or something,
Right,
you know.
it's a totally different group of
Yes.
people that may be thinking about it.
Mhm.
Okay. The strategic action review. So remember, we were not going to explore a full strategic plan because we were also not in limbo, but the planning commission is engaged in their plans. That doesn't mean that we can't do things as the EDC. So what Bob sent out was, when we met in October, when we met on the strategic plan the last time, when you cooked us dinner, we each took a section of the plan. There were 5 sections. We each took a section and we did some goals. There's 2 sections on here that haven't yet been done. I'll leave the authors unknown.
Oh, mine just hasn't been incorporated into.
No,
I've
yours
got
are
a
here.
whole folder here.
Yours are here. They're right here. Right here. So,
I'm looking at the 4th column. Mine's empty.
oh, okay. Then I would send those over to Bob so he can get them edited. So what you have is possibilities for restated objectives, metrics, and action items. I haven't really thought through how we want to tackle these as a group, because I don't think another offsite's gonna be possible for us to, with the career fair up, and then, we're starting to look at some other things happening. So what I think would be useful would be if, before the next meeting, you all can give your thoughts to Bob. If you don't really have a negative reaction to stuff that's on here, we can try it. If you're looking at it saying, could you tweak it a little bit like this, you have to come up with the tweak, right? This isn't throw dice at somebody
That's
else's
right.
work, right? And,
Even claim it.
right, yes,
Yeah.
if there are sections that don't necessarily have restated action items for stuff, if you have thoughts in those areas, go ahead and toss them in. Some of them are kind of like, they kind of meld together in some cases, and so if we tackle it in one area, it may work in another area too. So before the next meeting, if you can please give your thoughts to Bob on this document, and we're just gonna start chunking stuff off, right? Every meeting, we'll pick an area that we wanna work on, and we'll put together a plan, and we'll make it happen. So in a way, that'll help prioritize some of the things that we want to do, so we can start making some progress.
That's right. That's right.
And Melissa, I wanted to ask, I know you were gonna meet, I think, with our Habitat for Humanity folks. Is
Yes.
there anything that we should be doing, you wanted to share?
No, we actually, met. When was it?
It was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, time goes by very fast. So we had a really great, meeting and just shared some actual ideas, individually with what we can do, but it was nothing that, with EDC at this time,
Okay,
okay?
so you guys are working together and you'll let us know when there's, okay,
Exactly.
perfect. All right, what else did we have?
And I did have wait.
Yep, no, you're
So,
good.
and I had another one with the Boys and Girls Club for Northumberland and Lancaster as well, and just assisting them with some of the grants that they are trying to go after so that they can. continue to rehab this one here in
Oh,
Eastville.
okay.
Because they have a long list of children, that want to come to the club. And of course, other counties are wanting a club as well. So we're breeding at a record rate, but,
What's the age, would their group of kids be, would their group of kids be a good audience for the career fair or no?
nah,
They're way little.
yeah, it's like 5 to,
See, I thought they did it, okay.
yeah, and then they have the baby section that's,
Ooh.
well, yeah. Yeah, now,
Little
they
rabbits.
don't, you ready
I
to
know.
tear up
All
something.
right, I'm not going over there, okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'm working with them, regarding that,
oh, that's.
aspect as well,
Thank
with Mumford and that staff.
Nice. Busy girl.
Mhm.
All right, so that, unless, anyone else have new business, other new business? Okay.
One other thing, just for general information purposes, I should have done it during the commissioners thing. We did lose a restaurant in Callio. Mike's is closed down
Yeah, I saw that.
now, and just a footnote, I did stop by the farmer, not to eat, but just to talk to the owners there, see how their business has been. And they said their business was really, really well, so
It's always good.
yeah, it's good.
It's always good. Plus they love boats, they got a boat ramp.
Miguel is picking up the dairy freeze.
Pardon?
I hear rumors that Miguel is gonna pick up the dairy.
That's been a rumor for a while.
Well, he bought it a long time ago. He bought it over a year ago.
Right, but then his mother died.
Right, yeah, but I haven't, he hasn't said anything to me about any plans of opening it up or anything.
I like
I don't
it.
think he's gonna do
Okay.
the same
Well,
thing.
what was the business that we lost?
It was a dairy freeze, it was.
No, Mike's, the restaurant on the corner.
Oh,
On the
Mike's,
way-
yeah, Mike's
With barbecue.
restaurant, right
Okay.
at the corner, right at 360.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's like the third.
It's under, they're redoing it now again, though, yeah. Yes, sir.
Something came up at the planning commission that I thought would be of great interest. Maurice, maybe you can chime in as well, but the board of supervisors in one of their July meetings said, they'd like the planning commission last year reviewed all the county surplus property, of which there's a lot, to figure out which ones were sort of on the hit list if we needed money to go get it. So they decided the board wants to pursue building a canoe, a kayak launch at Hampton Hall, not far from where we're talking about. And so they want us to go back to identify the 5 pieces of property we said were most likely to be top sales. So anyway, that's not the most relevant part. One of those pieces of property is a 140-acre site the county owns that used to be the
Poorhouse.
the poorhouse.
POUR or PLOR?
OOR.
Okay.
You know, it's
Wow.
back,
I had to ask.
and social security and all that stuff. It's inside the county, it's way back down Dotlet Road, it's up on a hill. Stuart McKenzie, our staff person, brought in fascinating research about that property. It turns out that he had the whole history of the poorhouse and all that, the people that were there, but also that a lot of people who go to the poorhouse have no place else to go to be buried, so they're buried on the property in unmarked graves.
And the people on the property make the casket.
And the people on the property made the caskets. So here's the interesting part. It's apparently a beautiful piece of property. Some of it's being farmed and the county's getting the revenue from that. But there's apparently trails up there and some of it's pretty scenic. I was sort of thinking as we were talking about this, but this would be a haunted trail. What a tourist opportunity this would be. So it's county owned already. It's sort of fallen down our list now of things to sell because of the grave
Isn't
thing.
it landlocked too?
It's totally landlocked.
Yeah.
There is a creek at the bottom of one steep edge of the hill, according to the topographical map. But I thought this would be up your alley more than for us.
Absolutely.
So we call it the poorhouse, so it's like an I don't give a damn
So
cemetery?
it started in like 1789,
Mhm.
and the Commonwealth was taxing anybody 18 and older. And if you didn't pay, they would take your stuff and you didn't have anywhere to go, so you went to the poorhouse. Also, if your husband died, you were a widow with 3 or 4 kids, you went to the poorhouse. This thing went on until 1950 something is when it finally closed. but it's got a 200-year history. And apparently the foundation stones are still there from what we're told.
Wow.
And there's an opportunity there because there's a flat deck there where apparently the bodies are buried. And there's a history in there, and it's reasonably well documented to make it interesting. It would be, if you've ever been to Washington's birthplace or up there, up 3, you know the nature of buildings and everything from the time. One of the things that we might want to consider is some kind of ground up refurbishment with in-kind construction. I don't know. That would probably be.
Does the county have any plans to make it like a public park or accessible to the public?
There's no plan yet.
This was on our docket, the planning commission, as a property to potentially sell. Now, it's probably less likely we could sell it now because of the burial site.
Yeah.
And so it immediately leaped to my mind, this is a haunted trail.
Yeah.
It's a tourist thing, regardless of if we're smart, we can do it in a way that will attract more. And haunted, I think that's seasonal.
True.
Sounds like it
But-
needs a-
No, ghost stuff is all
I
right.
think so too, but again, just the articles that are already available at the Historical Society are just an
Amazing.
interpretive story along the trail would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of space for parking, there's no facilities up there.
Sounds like a foundation project, like the.
The historic, yeah.
I was gonna say the Historical Association. I'll get Bob to reach out to historical people or,
Just to put everybody in perspective on where we're talking about, you turn at the Y on Dodlet and it's the property in front of Kirkland Grove. Like when you
Okay.
turn into Kirkland Grove, it's on either side of Kirkland Grove Road as well as across Dodlet from Kirkland Grove. It encompasses both sides there.
So how can it be
You said it was
landlocked
141?
if it's got road frontage?
I think she was thinking it was not waterfront, not stream
Landlocked from
access.
a water perspective.
I think that's what you were
Oh.
thinking. It has,
Oh, okay.
that particular piece does have, road
Wouldn't that make a nice park or public park?
ghost tour.
Yeah.
Richmond makes a ton of money on ghost
And-
tours. Okay.
It would be, I haven't been out there to the property itself, but I've read some of the documentation and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I live here and I would go visit it.
Okay. All right. So any other new business? Thank you. Any citizen engagement?
I can give you a piece of good news. It's, our Bill 22 that is on, I keep wanting to call it Swan Creek. It's not Swan Harbor off of Indian Valley Road. Is all finished except for a couple of plumbing fixtures. So Tiffany Taylor and her family will be moving in, hopefully in place by next meeting.
Very good news.
Yeah. So we're also involved in conversations with Lancaster about perhaps making some radical changes to our business model so we can do more than build one house a year, and instead of focusing on deserving families, but to looking for opportunities for workforce housing. And there's some ways that we can finance that. Not we can finance that, but ways that we can facilitate financing that would make it all work. Make it all work fairly well. So watch this space, I guess.
Okay.
And this is Habitat for Humanity?
Have you guys ever built a poorhouse?
We could probably do that with 140 acres.
Wow. Yeah. So the grace. Okay. All right. I guess if there's no other last items, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All right.